I grew up in Oregon, in a small town where family meant everything. At least, that's what I believed my whole life. My parents were hardworking people, simple but proud. They raised us, me, my older brother Michael, and my younger brother Aaron, to believe in loyalty, in family ties, in standing together no matter what storms life threw at us. I carried that belief like a badge of honor. Michael was the oldest, for years ahead of me. He was the golden child, the one teachers praised, the one who always had his life together. He studied business, got a good job right after college, married his high school sweetheart, and bought a house before he was 30. People always said Michael was the kind of man parents dreamed their kids would become. Then came me, the middle child, always caught between two extremes. I was quieter, the one who tried to keep the peace when tempers flared. And then the youngest, Aaron. If Michael was discipline and order, Aaron was chaos wrapped in a charming smile. He was the kind of guy who could get away with almost anything, because he had this charisma that made people forgive him too easily. Despite their differences, I believed we were solid. We were siblings, and that bond was supposed to mean something unbreakable. Years later, when I met Daniel, I felt like I had finally found someone who fit right into the family picture. Daniel had a warm smile and this calmness about him that reminded me of home. He wasn't flashy, but he was kind, and that mattered to me more than anything else. My parents loved him, and even my brothers seemed to welcome him instantly. When Daniel and I got married, everything felt perfect. My brothers joked with him like he had been part of the family forever. Michael would invite him to golf outings, Aaron would drag him to late-night games at the bar, and at family dinners, the laughter was endless. It was a dream, really. But dreams, I've learned, can shatter quietly before you even realize what's happening. At first, I noticed small things. Daniel working later than usual. His phone lighting up with messages he wouldn't show me. Once, I caught the faintest whiff of perfume on his jacket, a scent I didn't own. I confronted him gently, and he laughed it off, saying, "You're overthinking. You know how stressed I've been at work." I wanted to believe him. So I did. Months passed, and those small things grew bigger. Daniel became distant, distracted. He would stare into space during dinners, barely noticing me. I told myself it was work pressure, that it would pass. After all, didn't every marriage hit rough patches? The first real crack came during a family gathering at our parents' house. We were celebrating Dad's birthday. The whole family was there, Michael with his wife, Aaron with his new girlfriend, Daniel by my side. From the outside, everything looked perfect, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Aaron avoided eye contact with me the whole night. Michael was overly cheerful, laughing too hard at Daniel's jokes, nudging him with this brotherly affection that felt forced. I brushed it off as me being paranoid. Family was sacred. My brothers would never betray me, or so I thought. One afternoon, months later, Daniel said he was working late. Something in me, some small instinct, told me to check on him. Maybe it was the way he grabbed his keys too quickly, or the way he avoided kissing me goodbye. Whatever it was, I drove to his office with dinner packed in a bag, hoping to surprise him. But Daniel wasn't at his office. His car wasn't even in the lot. My chest tightened. Something was wrong. On impulse, I drove to our parents' lake house, our family's little escape spot. I don't know why I chose to go there. Maybe I thought he needed space. Maybe I thought I'd find him clearing his head. What I found was worse than anything I could have imagined. Through the wide window of the lake house, I saw them. Daniel, Michael, Aaron. At first, relief washed over me. They were together, maybe just hanging out. But as I stood there, watching, the truth spilled itself in broken pieces that stabbed into me. Daniel wasn't hiding from me. He was hiding with them. They weren't fighting. They weren't talking about me. They were laughing, pouring drinks, and their conversation carried through the open windows. "She doesn't know a thing," Aaron said, shaking his head with a nervous laugh. Michael added, "It's better this way. She doesn't need to know." Daniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I can't keep this up forever. If she finds out." That's when the words that shattered me spilled out. It wasn't about me at all. It was about Michael's wife and Aaron's girlfriend. Daniel wasn't faithful, to me or to our marriage. He was entangled with both of their partners. And my brothers knew. They weren't just bystanders. They were protecting him, protecting themselves, hiding it all from me. My knees buckled. I remember pressing my hand against the cool glass of the window, feeling like my entire life had turned into a cruel play where everyone knew their lines except me. When I finally stepped inside, silence fell like a bomb. Daniel froze, his glass slipping from his hand and crashing to the floor. Michael's face went pale, his mouth opening but no words coming out. Aaron tried to smile, as if he could charm his way out of this too, but even his grin faltered. "How long?" I whispered, my voice trembling. No one answered. "How long have you all been lying to me?" Daniel finally spoke, his voice low. "It's not what you think. Don't you dare." I snapped, my voice louder than I had ever heard it. "Don't you dare lie to me again." Michael put his head in his hands. "We didn't know how to tell you." I stared at him, my own brother. "You knew. You knew my husband was betraying me, and you said nothing. You let me sit across from him at dinners. You let me smile. You let me trust. And you said nothing." Tears blurred my vision, but I refused to let them fall in front of them. I walked out of that lake house, my heart shattered into pieces I didn't know how to hold. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. My marriage ended. My bond with my brothers broke in ways I'm not sure will ever be repaired. For months, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Friends told me to be strong, but how do you find strength when the people you trusted most were the ones who destroyed you? Therapy helped. Slowly, painfully, I learned to separate their choices from my worth. I learned that betrayal says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. Now, years later, the scars remain, but they remind me of something important. That family isn't always about blood. Sometimes, family is the people who choose to stand by you, who refuse to let you fall. I never imagined my two brothers would do this, but I also never imagined I would rise again, stronger than before, carrying my truth like armor. And though the pain is part of me, so is the strength.